when your food order is going to be delivered. You can do the same thing with police activity in your community in Cape Coral. This is myneighborhoodupdate.net, and it might look a little confusing with all these random pins all over the place, but here's how it works. You've got this left-hand column that breaks everything down. The orange pins are anything that could happen on a property. You got burglary, you could have theft, you could have trespassing. I know it's October, but we don't really want to see pink, Lindsay, because pink is what's going to be something like a violent crime, shooting or a robbery.
Michael Hudak is on Fort Myers Beach. Michael, it's great to see that people are boarding up and getting out.
Listen to me right now. Fort Myers Beach is not going to be a safe place to be tomorrow. It's barely a safe place to be today.
The wind gusts are really picking up. That's the bay side. The other side is the ocean side. And I can't tell you where one begins and one ends. The bay and the ocean have met. We were here once that portion right there, the last portion that was dry, was filling up, and now I'm about calf deep in water. This water is rising. It is rising quickly.
I think I speak for many of us when I say I've never quite seen anything like this. I'm going to step out of the way so that you can get our vantage point. You can see the aluminum roofing from manufactured mobile homes across the street, up in their front yard, in their tree, like a Christmas Day decoration. But this is no holiday. As you can see, one of the sons of the owner of this home is up there in the tree right now trying to do this himself with a power saw. And as our meteorologists, who've been doing a great job today, by the way, as Greg articulated, they've been talking about the last hour or two how that severe weather threat has kind of moved out of our area. I mean, you can even see blue skies, barely any clouds, but the danger and the threat of harm is certainly prevalent still in this area right now because it is a little windy out here, and you can see some of those aluminum pieces up there in the tree are hanging on by a thread, and they might look flappable, they might look flexible, but Luis, this is what we're dealing with right here. This kind of sharp. Corey, good morning. The last time anyone heard from Gabby Petito was on August 27th. It was not uncommon for Gabby to send multiple text messages to her mom throughout the course of any trip that she went on, but this one on August 27th was just different. Her mom said that she didn't even think it was Gabby who sent the text message. It said our wait time was 5 minutes, and then 6 minutes, and then 8 minutes. I gave up after 40 minutes. Okay, so you can see the wind. Our tripod just got knocked down. I'm going to try to put that back over there. Walk with us a little bit because this is how this was able to happen. That home, I'm just being honest with you, was kind of like a target because of all of this open space right here. Kirsten, it affects everything, right? It affects hospitality, tourism, even say a restaurant on Fort Myers Beach. So when I tell you that 20% of business travel to the state of Florida may never be the same again, that could be cause for concern.
And Michael, what exactly are the reasons that we have to swat him away like you're doing right there?
I have to defend myself out here. Well, listen, Southwest Florida is flat, warm, and wet. Those are the three main things. So it's kind of like mosquito heaven, which is why I'm kind of fending for my life out here against these bugs by the water before dawn. They want to keep that smoke away from rising and the ambers from touching these tall trees behind us. You see, there's a bunch of tall trees behind and surrounding this fire, but it's nowhere near where this actual small fire behind me is contained. What's also been consistent is a lack of severe wind. Take a look at that. Between 1 mile an hour and 2 mile an hour and fluctuating. It's been that way throughout the entire morning. Take a look down to Naples Pier right now, and as you can see, people are not necessarily too concerned about the conditions. You see people walking on the pier, you see someone surfing in the water. And I just got a text message last night, woke up to it today, saying that Florida is for sure their next stop and their next destination.
That is incredible. Okay, so let's take us back to last week, I believe. You had told us you got an update, another phone call or text message from him saying they were in Kuwait after fleeing Afghanistan, but there was a lot of stops in between that. What happened next?
It was a long journey. It was a long journey. So, Lindsay, this journey was incredible. They flew from Kabul to Kuwait.
Okay.
That journey was treacherous. They didn't know when they were going to be able to get out of Afghanistan. They got out healthily and successfully. Then they go to Sofia, Bulgaria. Sofia is the capital of Bulgaria. Then they go from there to New Jersey. There wasn't really a rhyme or reason to any one of those stops. It was just the first plane to the next stop they were trying to get to. He spoke to us about being in the Kabul airport at the same gate as the IED explosions and what the conditions were like there.
It was too difficult and tough times. We were deprived from food, from water, even from toilet for like 2-3 days.
Ed, the man who lives at this house and has owned this house for years, used to have a screen that connected and enclosed his back lanai. Now, as you can see, Taylor, it's all but completely gone. A roofing company said they're planning to tarp that up today. I want to point your attention to that window. That's the shower. Let me tell you what happened to Jeff Judy on Monday afternoon. He lives at this apartment, right? And he gets a notification on his phone saying that he's got a package at his front front door. This is amazing. It's the holidays. But when he opens the door, he notices a man steals the package and is running down this sidewalk with the package. Jeff is trying to get him to stop, but he won't stop. And now Jeff Judy is without his package and his peace of mind. But they're not stopping the photo shoots here in Cape Coral. The families are at home today. They want to take the day off, and they're even bringing the dog outside for the photo shoot and bringing a chair in the middle of the street. I have a mask on because it is a federal mandate to wear a mask inside all airports in the United States, and it is only when you exit the airport that you can take the mask off. Reporting at RSW, Michael Hudak. This is the closest stop sign to Brian Laundrie's house. You can see it says at the corner of Price Boulevard and Ray Street, stop, and under that it says, where is she? Of course, referring to Gabby. We don't know who put that on that stop sign. All we know is that this is a story, Nicole, that has gripped the nation. It has sent shockwaves through the community, and you quite literally see it at every single turn. This community in Surfside has rallied around these displaced families and these victims by providing them with so much, right? Food, shelter, money. But all they want is answers. All they want is word on their loved ones. And the search to find those answers is currently underway on this fourth morning that we see this incredible debris. It's not until you stand next to this debris, or at least down the street from it, guys, that you realize how high that debris is. Look at that, 3 to 4 stories high. But they were working through a fire. They are going to work through rain. And that was what the mayor of Miami-Dade County expressed, that she actually has to go in there and convince these firefighters to leave their shift. These are firefighters and law enforcement officials that are on this search and rescue mission that do not want to give up, that won't give up, rain or shine. This is where Don and Darlene, the people who own this garage, keep all their tools and get all of their stuff done. They usually don't have the wind blowing through here like I do right now because they used to have a roof on this structure. The 118-mile-an-hour winds ripped that off on Sunday morning. Behind me here at Florida State University's campus, this is called the Unconquered Statue, and that's because the Seminole tribe was the only Native American tribe to not be conquered during Western expansion. They actually moved to South Florida, the Everglades. They hid and lived in the swamps. When Bobby Bowden came to FSU, he redefined the meaning of unconquered. He was the leader of the first team to start the season as the #1 team in the country and end the season as the #1 team in the country. And do so right at the tank. You hold your phone over as if you're taking a picture, the QR code, click the button, and it'll take you to this website, which will take you to the app, which I already downloaded, where you can sign up for 7-Eleven's Ward program. You can save 11 cents per gallon on your first 7 tanks. 7-Eleven. See what they did there? Here's another thing. Figure out which brand of gas you buy the most. I don't know for you, but for me, I always go to a random gas station when I'm out of gas. I don't know. Instead, go to the same one all the time and join their rewards program and build rewards over time. I'll tell you the third key tip in just a second. I know you're dying to hear it, but first, let's hear from this expert who has more tips on how to save money on gas.
Making sure that your tires are properly inflated, even going a couple PSI over, there's less rolling resistance. That's going to help there. Something as simple as a dirty air filter can rob 3 to 6% of your fuel economy.
The other way you can save money on gas is by making your car as fuel efficient as possible, which means taking some of the weight out of your car. This actually surprisingly helps your car conserve gas. Another way that you can save money on gas is just don't floor it when you're at the green light. That wastes a lot of gas. But the #1 way that you can save money on gas, according to a local expert, is by using a car that does not accept gas because it's electric. You know it. You tell us about it all the time. Finding a COVID test fast is tough. I met a mom and dad who, while on the hunt for a test, came upon a testing site at a Bonita Springs strip mall. So they stopped and they got in line and they registered. But before they took the test, they got an email saying that they were negative. I mean, what? So I did some digging, found out the company that runs this site is racking up complaints not just here, but nearly everywhere. Erin Cates is a wife. Okay, she's a mom too, and she's COVID positive. But see, she knows that now. She didn't know it when she got in this line. Erin, her husband Doug, and their 3 kids were in search of a test when they saw the signs along 41 in Bonita Springs.
Almost like an election advertisement type sign, like a plastic sign that sits in the ground that says COVID testing this way. And I think it even said free COVID testing.
In line, they were told to grab one of these doctors' clinical lab cards, scan the QR code, and enter their names, address, a picture of their driver's license, and all of their personal insurance information.
When we went to CenturyLink, they didn't need all that information.
But the Cates filled out the card anyway. While they were in line waiting for a test, they got a notification that their results are ready.
results of a test they were still in line to take.
We got an email for each of us, all 5 of us, both of us and our 3 kids, saying that our rapid test came back negative.
The Cates told me other people in line got the same exact message. Aaron and Doug did not like that one bit.
So I confronted the man. I asked him how this happened.
So they emailed Wink News, and I started to investigate. First, I tried to call Center for COVID Control. That's who sent Aaron and Doug the notification that their test results came back negative.
You are currently caller number 121.
It said our wait time was 5 minutes, and then 6 minutes, and then 8 minutes. I gave up after 40 minutes. I was getting nowhere. I went back to the card the Cates filled out, looked up Doctor's Clinical Lab. I found one ending in .net and another ending in .com. I called the .net number first. A spokesperson from the Miami-based company told me.
So the Doctor's Clinical Laboratory Services that is using your logo and name on the west coast of Florida in several locations is not a part of your entity.
Exactly. It's not a part of us at all.
So when I looked for a number to the .com, I clicked the link and this popped up. It's an official-looking website, but with a peculiar message, okay? It's not a homepage, not a table of contents tab. The first thing I see is a negative COVID-19 test, time-stamped with whatever the time and date was when I clicked on the link. I did it 6 times with the same negative test result coming up. So the next day I tried again. This time a single page filled the screen. The message, quote, "The patient you are trying to verify has been tested. If you need a copy of the report, call our lab," end quote. And there's a phone number. I called and heard this.
Thank you for calling Center for COVID Control.
Recognize that message? It's the Center for COVID Control. The company website says it is based in Illinois, operates more than 275 locations in 29 states, boasts free rapid COVID tests, detects Omicron, is highly effective, results by the end of the day, no appointments necessary. The Center for COVID Control says it is, quote, partnered with a CDC-approved and licensed lab, end quote. It looks good, it sounds good, but is it legit? So I went out to the testing site in Bonita. Look, no social distancing and about 15 to 20 people in the lobby. On a table, those same cards the Cates filled out. And only one person in the entire facility who told me that he started working there 4 hours ago.
What's the name of this company? You don't know the name of the company that you just work for right now?
All I can tell you is the man that should be able to answer all the questions should be back anytime.
Tyler Blackwell looked the part.
Are you a nurse? Like, you have scrubs on right now. Are you like a registered nurse?
I am not.
Where'd you get the scrubs from?
You can buy these things anywhere, man. Walmart, Target.
He told me he has no medical training or expertise. He just hands the swab to people so they can stick them up their noses.
It's criminal. It's infuriating. I hope it gets shut down fast.
And the icing on the cake, a tip jar. I don't think you heard me. A COVID-19 testing site with a tip jar. It says tips for Tony. Blackwell told me that Tony was a man. It turns out Tony was a dog. A tip jar for Tony the dog.
News begins with breaking news.
Breaking tonight, the company at the center of a Wink News investigation orders a pause in operations. Good evening, I'm Lois Tomey.
I'm Chris Safati. Thanks for joining us tonight. On its website, USA Today reports it obtained an internal memo saying the Center for COVID Control will pause all operations for 1 week. A company spokesperson later confirmed to USA Today the existence of that memo. That pause is expected to take effect Friday, nationwide. USA Today goes on to cite Wink News and our reporting of what happened at the Bonita Springs location, that some people in line got results for tests before they even took the COVID test. Wink News reporter Michael Hudak broke the story in Bonita, and on Wink News at 3 broke the news that the Edison Mall location closed up today. Michael, you talked with the woman who says she runs that site.
That's right, and she says that these orders came from above. And Chris, above we know is the Center for COVID Control, which has 275 listed locations across the United States, 3 of them in Southwest Florida, and one of them used to be right there. A week ago today, the old Sears parking lot at the Edison Mall was lined with cars. Today, back to the ghost town it's been since the department store was closed. And when I got here, it was just me, myself, and my camera guy until a woman in a car pulled up. It turns out it was the woman who manages this place. So I asked her what the heck happened. This is time-lapse video I shot the first time I visited the COVID test site at the Edison Mall. I mean, look at the incredible line of cars. 1 week later, you could hear a pin drop in the parking lot.
There is such concern out there for people being scared and needed testing, and now people are without.
The only sign that this place used to be a test site, a locked shed, a sign that says closed until further notice, and then Mary Farmer. You used to run this site, correct?
Yeah.
Farmer told me last week, and again on Thursday, she ran this testing site operating under the umbrella of the Center for COVID Control. And when I asked her why this site closed...
Everybody has to be investigated.
What? By who? The Center for COVID Control? I mean, I've tried for a week to get someone from the company to talk to me about what's happening in Southwest Florida. The state of Florida? I've called the state attorney general, the Department of Health, the Agency for Healthcare Administration, emailed them all too. They will not say whether they are doing an investigation. So I asked Farmer. Who did you say was investigating the Center for COVID Control?
I know there were sites in Miami that were giving out results before people even tested.
What if I told you that I did a report on Monday that the site in Bonita Springs was doing the same exact thing?
We heard the same thing, and we didn't know that, and we were sending people over there that couldn't wait in line, and we didn't know that ourselves.
It turns out the only Southwest Florida location shut down right now is the one at the Edison Mall. Thursday afternoon, this video proves the Cape Coral location is still open. And then when I texted Dennis Finnerty, the same Dennis Finnerty who welcomed me into the Bonita Springs site on Tuesday, his response was 2 words. Again Thursday afternoon, video shows Bonita is still open as well. Well, the problem is that the new landowner is trying to uproot everybody else's way of life, and he's going about it pretty boldly, Lois. He's apparently put signs in the mangroves that say private property, no trespassing, but he may have overstepped. There could be a so-called liquid loophole in Florida law that will keep access to this water open to everybody.
Y'all need water?
Joey Nelson
1, 2, 3
would not change this for the world.
I lived here since 1980.
1980.
Yeah, we moved here when I was 10 years old.
Nelson's been kayaking on these waterways off of Big Hickory Island ever since. So when he saw the signs and he saw the cameras, he immediately knew the owner of the land was up to something.
He came down, he put some signs up and some cameras, wired signs, and we were told that we weren't allowed, access, through the mangrove tunnels.
The big signs and tiny cameras were courtesy of David Shee, working on behalf of the newly formed Bonita Springs Conservation Association. The group decided the open waters where locals spent hours and hours of their lives were now private property. What you had been doing basically your whole life, suddenly one day it was like, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
The only problem for the Bonita Springs Conservation Association, there may be a, how do I say this, a liquid loophole. That's why he brought us on a little tour here out into the water. Didn't think this was how the day was gonna go, but let's give it a shot. Nelson told me Florida law says any navigable waterway is public property. So while I was out kayaking, the water that we were sailing on was public, but the sand underneath it is private. Stick your paddle in the water, you're good. Stick your paddle in the sand, you're on somebody else's land. Where we are right now, the water is public, but the sand underneath us is private?
That's what I was told.
How weird is that?
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard anything like that before.
Nelson, like a lot of people, hope the water stays open to anyone. And that right to be here is never taken away.
If we are not allowed to access this, thousands of people, will not be able to enjoy this anymore.
It would change the lifestyle completely.
Yes.
And just because they survived, just because they are not physically injured, that does not mean that they are okay, especially for the husbands who left town never to see the love of their life again. When two people exchange vows at their wedding, the famous words are, "Until death do us part."
That one was your wife?
That's correct.
But these men say that's just not true. These husbands will never part from the love of their life, even after death.
I was on the phone with her at 1:30.
June 24th, 2021 will haunt Mike Stratton for the rest of his life. He was out of town on a business trip as the Champlain Tower South began to give way. His wife, Cassie, who was in their apartment photographed here on the 4th floor, called him.
She called me up and she said, "I think there's an earthquake." And she looked down the balcony and the pool area had kind of a sinkhole. And then the building started to shake, rattle, and she screamed, and then the phone went dead.
Cassie Stratton was 40 years old. Her husband, Mike, is only one of the husbands I met who left town before the collapse, never to see their wives again.
I was in Panama that day. I was visiting family in Panama. Oh.
Joseph Blaser Sr. was married to Elena for almost 30 years, a woman who escaped Fidel Castro's reign in Cuba when she was just a little girl.
It's been the worst year of my life.
I'm so sorry.
My life completely is a different life. I was very happy married with my wife. We were for 26 years.
It will never be until death do us part. For these husbands, like Kevin Spiegel,
If you could pick up the phone and talk to your wife, what would you say?
I just fall apart. I wish, sometimes at night I'll sit and talk to her.
even death could never make them part.